Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to the Aurum podcast, where we discuss all matters that relate to HR and risk advisory. I'm your host, Anthony Courier, and I'm glad that you could be able to take time to join us. Probably you would wonder, who is Aurum Consultants? Who is Aurum? Who is Aurum? What is this all about? Well, Aurum podcast is hosted by Aurum Consultants Limited, a company that specializes, a consultancy that specializes in human resource and risk advisory. We focus our attention on resolving difficult human capital and business challenges. Our vision is to create, strengthen, and streamline HR systems and processes for SMEs. Our mission is to be one of the one-stop HR solutions provider for growing companies by leveraging on technology, people, and the law. Now, the pain points that we try and sort out are issues to do with legal application and statutory compliance, inefficient and ineffective business processes, and also handling talent management. Those are the three main points that many companies struggle with. And the solutions we offer is helping SMEs, corporates comply with labor laws, strengthen their HR processes, and provide financial indemnity to business risks. The services we offer include HR outsourcing, HR administration, training, payroll administration, risk assessment and advisory, and recruitment. And we are glad to be here today with you. Now that I've said who we are, what the podcast is all about, let me introduce the panelists who are with us today. There is Zipporah Kuria, the in-house HR consultant. Karibu Zipi.
Thank you, Anthony. Good morning, all.
Yes, and we have a HR expert that we love listening to. She's also the HR manager at LVCT Health. Her name is Martha Thuku, and she'll tell us more about herself. Welcome, Martha.
Thank you, Tony, and good morning, viewers. As Tony has alluded, my name is Martha Thuku. I work as HR and admin manager at LVCT Health, a local NGO, mostly dealing on or helping out the government in HIV issues. But I also would want to mention here that we are major in matters mental health and GBV. And we are really helping this time, especially during this time of COVID and other issues. There has been a lot of areas on mental health. So corporates, international NGOs, local NGOs have reached out to us, and we have gone and helped them with their staff who are having mental health issues. And should you require these services, please reach out to me through this podcast, through Aurum. You'll get in touch with me, and we are able to connect you, and we get your staff helped. Thank you very much, and welcome, viewers.
Thank you, Martha. Indeed. Mental issues, health issues during this season are something very critical that we all need to take care about, whether individuals, whether corporates, wherever. It's good to be conscious about it. Now, last week we had a wonderful session. We began the month of July by talking about employee discipline management. And ladies, I'm sure if you're like me, you got a bit of feedback. At least Zippy and I got some very good feedback. We're like, oh, guys, why haven't you spoken about this before? This is a very pertinent topic. Why didn't we discuss about it? Blah, blah, blah. But today we are discussing it. This month, we are discussing this issue of employee discipline management. Now, we talked a few things, what it is all about, its definition, what it entails, what it does not entail. Zippy, if I could start with you, probably going right into the subject matter as we were discussing. One of the things that popped up in my mind is, just like a school, sometimes when you're dealing with human beings, you have all manner of issues. It's unpredictable. You don't know how this person woke up today. You don't know how your boss woke up today. Yeah. When you're dealing with with a machine, you know that if it is greased, if it is oiled, if the power source is connected correctly, it will work as we expect. I mean, a typical phone, As long as it's on charge, it has free space, it will work. Ile siku itakufa, it will just die. But with human beings, it is not quite like that. It is a bit more trickier. So, in my mind, I'm wondering, how do you effectively maintain discipline at the workplace? I don't know whether. Let me start with you, Zippy. Then I'll jump to Martha.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm just smiling because I was listening to Mother introducing herself, and a thought came to my mind, and I'm just wondering, even as I respond to your question, Anthony, can mental issues, employment mental issues
Mm,
contribute to employee indiscipline? And I think that would be an interesting discussion we can have to see how
yes.
mental issues actually are contributing towards the same, because I believe they have quite they are a contributing factor to some of the challenges
Mm,
we face with employees. But just to
sure.
respond to what you've asked about first question, I would first want to ask myself is, why do we even have indiscipline in the first place? Why are we having these issues arising at the workplace?
Mm,
And I think once we are able to respond to that question well, then we can be able
mm,
to respond to how we can effectively to have employee indiscipline at the workplace, looking at poor communication or lack of communication for that matter, looking at we don't have any boundaries set for employees. These are
mm,
issues that contribute to employee indiscipline. But the
mhm,
question you're asking is, how then do we deal with this effectively? And one of the things I would say is having a clear organization structure, having a clear chain of command, employees having an understanding. This is who I report to. This is how the authority in this organization looks like. This is who I need to talk to when I have this kind of an issue. Having that very clear from the word go, I think it kind of helps minimize some of these
mm.
challenges.
Okay.
The other thing, and I think this is a big one, and I would want to indulge Martha on this one, is when it comes to onboarding employees. I think one of the biggest questions we need to ask ourselves: how do we onboard our employees? How do we induct these employees? How do we help them settle in the organization and understand what is expected of them? What are the boundaries? What are the do's and the don'ts? Having that clear picture for the employee from the word go, because a lot of times I've seen situations where an employee comes in, there's urgency for them to get some work done. So you find probably the induction was not done as effectively as it
Mm,
needed to be done.
mm,
And what
mm,
happens is, and again, I'm talking from a place of experience, I find the HR office being a very busy kind of environment where there's a
mm,
lot of moving parts. There's a lot of
mm,
things happening, each
mm,
and every day. So what
mm,
I've realized when, for example, an induction is not done well,
mm,
you realize sometimes it's actually completely forgotten.
mm,
Somewhere
mm,
along the way, you're thinking, I will do it later and do it probably better, maybe update what
mm,
we are doing. But
mm,
again, you get caught up by other events and this is
mm,
forgotten. So what happens along the way, sometimes
mm,
employees start having challenges, they start
mm,
misbehaving. And when
mm,
you go back, you actually start realizing is how they came into the organization, how they were inducted into the
mm,
system,
mm.
how they
Correct.
got to understand this is what is expected of me. One
Mm,
of the things we have been doing here at Aurum is training young people who are getting into the job market, just
mm,
getting to understand what is the expectation of the employer. How do I
mm.
behave at the workplace?
Correct.
What do I do when I get that first job? I'm
Mhm,
new in the job market. I have no clue what I'm supposed to be doing. How do I behave? And this
mm,
actually was born from a place of seeing frustrations from employers, how they get frustrated when
mm.
employees come in and after 6 months, you will hear these comments, they are not a right fit or they are not able to perform, or
Yes.
all these manner of comments that come across. But we
Mm,
don't go back to deeper and understand the
yes.
why. So I think for me,
Mm,
I would want to really dig deeper into the why and see how
mm.
we address the solutions from a place of understanding why they happen. I will allow Mother to contribute to this because I think there's a lot we can talk about on this particular subject.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
true,
Martha.
Zippy, and you've done well. Just your thought, trying to pick up from your thought earlier, and I was just thinking through about the the employee indiscipline issues that we get. The compliance issues, people are violating laws, they're indulging in theft and fraud, absconding, and even other behavioral issues like insubordination, absenteeism, and all those things. And it's true, it's kind of doubling up to some mental health issues, because then why do people do these things? And maybe, as you have said, the background of how someone came in, maybe you are in an organization where all these good things are done, you are trained well, but then you find these things. Then we need to look and research on mental health versus employee in
Yes.
discipline, because then you get to
Yes.
understand where the why that ZP is talking about. But coming to the topic of the day, I agree totally with you that it's good to start with the why. Because then once you start with the why and you address the why, then you are able to maintain that. And I agree also with ZP, the way someone has been oriented when they came in is very
Yes.
important.
Very
We work
crucial.
in like me, I work in an environment that is very busy. So you find people, we have come in and, like you can report and you go for a meeting.
You come in
That
and
and the next 1 week, there's a meeting that you need to attend. And so you find even 3 months can go without you knowing what about this organization. And so even if the organization have good rules and regulations, you are not aware about them. And for me, I really like advocating, if it's possible, you let that person be free for 1 or 2 days, and you already have your manual, the HR manual and the guidelines, the boundaries of working in that organization. What can keep you and what can take you home? The zero tolerance policy, that if you behave like this, we are disengaging. The values, learning the values of the organization, the mission and vision, which really people should be singing them every day. Like even in your sleep, you should be singing, this is, I work here and this is our vision. So that then you don't dissect from that. So maintaining it then is when you have all these things in place, then to maintain, you need to constantly keep reviewing, keep sensitizing, because people forget and they end up kind of dissecting from what they knew. It's good to keep on um, and reminding and reminding and reminding. The most other important thing is that as a manager, am I following the rules myself? Because then if I'm not following the rules, how am I expecting my the people who are looking up to me to follow the rules? So we cannot maintain the workplace rules if the managers themselves are violating them. So it starts at the top, at the end of the day. At the top, meaning the executive, and at the top, meaning you as a manager in a certain department or in a certain team. Your way, your conduct helps maintain, because people are looking up to you, and you could be a mentor for many people. So your behavior and your violations or non-violation of organizational rules and boundaries will also help maintain or disorient the organization. That's how what I can talk about that subject. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Ladies, you have given some good insights here that just a few insights. Remember, in this podcast, we are giving hints and ideas so that if, in case you're listening to us and you would want to know more about, employee disciplinary management, you can get in touch with us via the contacts that are shown at the bottom of the screen. But now, in this particular issue, the few things that I've picked up is that how to maintain effective discipline is among others, a clear chain of command. It should be very clear who is at the top, coming all the way down. That should be very clear. And then two, a clear induction and onboarding process of new employees. And the third thing that Martha, you have said, is about the senior staff also following the company standards as the pace setters. And Zippy, you said something there that I would like also to emphasize on, that here at Aurum Consultants, one of the things that we have discovered, the challenges of people, fresh graduates coming from college and university, joining the marketplace. Many companies, as Martha has said, they don't have a clear induction process. So what we have done here at Aurum Consultants is start something we call the recruit, where we get fresh graduates, people who are getting into the marketplace, people who are you're fresh entrants, you want to know what to do, how do you should you behave generally everywhere. We take them through a 12-month program called the Recruit Program, which enables them to be, to be prepared both in terms of professionally, mentally, and professionally, mentally, to be ready to get into any workplace, to be ready to be able to handle the rigors of professional life. So that's the first question. The issue is how to maintain, because mambo ya discipline inakuanga ni ngumu sana. Now, the next thought.
Tony, actually, before you go on, let me
Yes.
just mention this, and I picked this when Mother was talking.
Yes.
I think that one of the biggest questions we need to ask ourselves as HR people and even as business leaders is what will be the best practice for my organization when it comes to maintaining employee discipline? Because a lot of times I think when we talk about employee discipline, we are looking at the worst end of it. We are looking at we are thinking about punishment. But how can we prevent ourselves from even having to deal with issues of, having to get to that extreme?
Sure.
Because I don't think that is the goal of any HR manager or any business leader. When you're engaging past someone, it's not your intention to end up being in a situation where you're having to deal with indiscipline. While where there are people, you will find indiscipline will happen because people have different opinions, people do things differently. You will find these issues arising, but that is not the goal at the end of the day. The
Yes.
goal is to end up having a good working environment where we are not having to always be fighting with people who are indisciplined at the workplace. So I think it's important for us to think as organizations, as individual organizations, what would be the best practice? What are those things I need to do prior to engaging people to when I engage them to when we are disengaging? What are those best practices we need to have in place? And not
Correct.
just in paper, but actually implementing them. Because I think when I think about what Mother was talking about earlier, having policies and updating and upgrading those policies, it's one thing, and we are very good at the HR department, to make sure we do that. But the rubber meets the road actually when it comes to implementation. And I'm sure we'll talk about this as we go along. When it comes to implementation, whose responsibility is it anyway? Who makes sure that these policies are working at the end of the day? So let's think about what is the best practice and actually work towards achieving that best practice.
All right, all right. Thank you, Zippy. The issue here, as Zippy has said, is not to look for ways to discipline people, is to look for ways to keep everything on track. That even when somebody seems to be going off track, you quickly simply nudge them back, nudge them back. Let's keep going. The actual issue of disciplining at the end of the road is supposed to be an outlier. It's not supposed to be the norm. And it's good to have that thought in mind. Now, the second aspect that came through my mind, and I thought I'll ask you ladies about this. It's issues to do with poor disciplinary management. What does what are the effects of poor disciplinary management on the business itself? Can poor disciplinary management have an effect on business performance? Martha, what's your take on that?
Certainly, Tony. And, when Zippy was talking, I just remembered a saying we say prevention is better than cure. And so it's always good to prevent that we don't have to have issues of indiscipline in the organization. And there are various ways, and maybe that's a topic then, Zippy, we can pick up, and so that we can also maybe discuss the various ways that can help prevent indiscipline in an organization. But now coming to your question, Tony, yes, of course, indiscipline affects performance. Indiscipline management, and when it's not done properly, everyone can see, and it can lead to very many things, including reducing staff morale, including poor performance, and that
Yes.
affects, that effect is a ripple effect, because
Yes.
then it goes to the organization performance, and even litigation. When
Yes.
it's handled badly, it brings
Mm-hmm.
litigation, and
Very
it
true.
can be very expensive for the organization. So
Yes.
that's why it is important that indiscipline is handled effectively, and
Mm-hmm.
and within the rules and regulations of the organization and the law, because then it can
Mm-hmm.
be very expensive for the organization.
Yes.
People, the productivity of people can reduce. Yeah, and let me
Yes.
give Zippy something to add.
I think to just add to what Mother has said, the other thing I think poor discipline management could cause an organization is you end up losing good talent.
Mm-hmm.
And most organizations will find you have very good talent that you would want to hold on to them. You don't want them to go.
Mm-hmm.
But when
Mm-hmm.
you start having an environment where discipline management is handled in a bad way or in a way that is not professional, then good
Mm-hmm.
people start leaving. And what happens? You end up being left with mediocre employees who are not able to help the organization. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
what does that lead to? What Mother is talking about? Poor performance. You end up
Mm-hmm.
making losses as a business.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, of course, this would cost you is a reputation of the organization.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at how employees are handling issues, maybe this indiscipline is coming actually from the way they are managing customer. So it could cost actually reputation for your organization. Again, with the era of social media, we've seen employees going to social media and posting things
Mm.
about the organization. And once the damage is done, even if you do PR, already information has been planted into people's minds. So it's very
Yes.
important for us as business people, as HR professionals, to know how do we manage these issues internally effectively so that they don't become a problem for the organization.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I'm thinking about, it could be decreased productivity, which Mother has talked about. And
Mm-hmm.
of course, we've seen situations where we have industrial actions, and especially
Yes.
where there are unions involved, where
Yes.
the discipline management has not been handled in the right way. You start
Yes.
finding employees probably are going on a go slow, or they are refusing to actually work. And at the end of the day, it has serious, serious effects on the business. And you have to remember, as you're being affected as a business, your competitors are watching. So what are they doing? They're doing
Yeah.
everything possible to make sure they take on your business while you're struggling with these challenges. So
Mm-hmm.
again, I always say, as we go into an organization to work as employees, we have to remember we are the best ambassadors for that organization. We have to
Mm-hmm.
do everything possible to make sure we maintain the integrity of that organization. We make sure the organization becomes better than we found it, but
Mm-hmm.
not to give in a way that at the end of the day, the organization suffers for engaging
Mm-hmm.
us as employees. Because
Mm-hmm.
as employees, we are also responsible. We might be talking
Mm-hmm.
about the management, the HR here, but again, where is the responsibility of the employee when it comes to in discipline? They are
Mm-hmm.
also
Yeah.
responsible for maintaining
Mm-hmm.
their own discipline at the workplace. Yeah, that would be my take.
And let me add
Now,
a bit before Tony you come in.
mm-hmm.
When Zippy was talking, I just remembered one time I was looking for a job,
Mm-hmm.
and a friend of mine used to work there in the HR
Mm-hmm.
department, and they called me and they told me, "We are going to call you. Please don't take the job." So you can, and within a few years, that organization fell. In fact, he called me and he told me, "I'm even leaving myself." So you can
Mm-hmm.
imagine when you have those poor things that you do in the organization as an employer, your employees are seeing. And
Mm-hmm.
like that organization came down. You can imagine if I
Mm-hmm.
took that job, but someone
Mm-hmm.
inside told me, "We are going to call you, but don't come." So it is very important. And then also the other person who has this nini is the HR person. How do you manage the employee experience in the organization
Mm-hmm.
in the
Correct.
various areas of HR, in
Mm-hmm.
recruitment, performance
Mm-hmm.
management,
Mm-hmm.
even your salary strategies,
Mm-hmm.
promotion strategies, all
Mm-hmm.
those things, and even exit when the person has resigned and they're exiting. Are they having positive employee
Mm-hmm.
experience that even when they go there out there, They're talking good about your organization.
Mhm.
So, and then that helps with the reputation issue. So the reputation is really key, and it's one of the worst things that is damaged. And if an organization's reputation is damaged in social media, in anywhere, you will never get quality employees. You'll just be getting second-hand people. Yeah. Thank you so much. I wanted to add that here.
Yeah, second-hand people. You'll get second-hand mitumba, people who are recycled.
Oh, I used the word second-hand.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's okay, it's okay. I get it. It's basically what Zippy was talking about, mediocrity. Yeah, mediocrity. Let me again summarize this discussion, what we have just said concerning poor disciplinary management and its effects on the business. We have said that it can lead to poor employee morale. People are seeing the way things are probably, if it's poor discipline management, could be others being favored, others not getting punished for making the same mistakes that others get punished severely. So that can bring poor employee morale. Another issue that came up is costly litigation. It could bring litigation issues that could be costly to the company. Because if you handle discipline management badly, you send people home, blah, blah, blah. People end up in court, they sue the company, they sue you, they win cases. Then again, now it becomes costs that are incurred by the company. Thirdly, I like the fact that you've said that there could be loss of good talent. People who are high caliber will not stay in a place where they think the management is mediocre, especially in discipline management. So that means you might find yourself losing very good talent. And then the fourth item is reputational risks to the firm, where people go out there and say those people don't know what they're doing. As you say, post in social media and say things that are happening, or anonymous tips to journalists about things that are happening there, or probably an otherwise highly reputable company. And then the fifth that you've said is industrial action. People either going on strike or go slow, or just creating situations where now employees are having confrontations, in regards to the way they work. So to our viewers, if you are listening and you'd like to, or you're watching us and you'd like to throw your comments or questions, these are highly welcome. We really appreciate comments, questions that, or even ideas, something that we've said or something you think should be discussed here. We really welcome you sending in your questions and comments. Now that we've talked about that particular issue of poor discipline management, let me ask a third question. Where do we place the responsibility in managing employee discipline in an organization? Who is responsible? Who do we say? Is it HR? Is it guys in finance and administration? Is it the executive? Actually, I'm really curious to know about this. Zippy, let me go to you. Who do we place the responsibility of managing employee discipline issues in an organization?
Tony, I'm laughing because I've seen this question so many times, and I've seen the buck being passed to HR so many times. And in a lot of organizations, and I hope we have business people listening to us, a lot of times when there's employee indiscipline, a lot of times you find HR gets blamed for it, and the buck is passed to HR. Of course, most of the time the buck stops with HR. But in terms of responsibility, in terms of who implements employee discipline at the workplace, I would say it's everyone, the stakeholders. We are talking about the employee as a stakeholder in this relationship. They need to take charge of how they behave at the workplace. That's number one. I always tell employees when they come to work, and especially when I'm having to deal with a disciplinary situation, when you came to this organization, when you sent in that application, you went through the interview process. No one forced you to do that. When you came into this organization, you knew there are rules and the regulations that actually make us work together in a cordial way. So you are
Mm-hmm.
aware about these things. So when you go out there and do things that will bring in discipline at the workplace, you have to take personal responsibility of your own actions and decisions. The other thing, of course, is the management. I always say the management has a big role to play when it comes to how we manage discipline at the workplace, because they set the tone, they set the way
Mm-hmm.
we have to do things. If the management
Mm-hmm.
removes themselves from it, let me tell you, the truth is the HR will not be able to do much. The HR has to get a lot of support
Mm-hmm.
from the management for them to implement any policy implementation that would be required to bring discipline. Number two, I would say the management themselves. And of course, the other thing I would say is the manager, and I would want to hear what Mother says about this. One of the things we do with most of our clients is to train managers HR for non HR. Why?
HR
Because I
managers. Yes.
believe the manager is the first HR line manager. In as much as they are not qualified to
Mm-hmm.
be HRs, they are dealing with people, they are dealing with human beings.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ones who will
Mm-hmm.
first hand have to deal with issues that are coming from the employee. So how they actually manage that process greatly actually
Yes.
affects how the discipline management system is handled within the organization. So they have a very, very big responsibility. So for me, I would say all the stakeholders in the organization, they have a big
Mm-hmm.
role. Where you find their unions, I
Mm-hmm.
and this one I laugh because I remember at one point I was dealing with a union, and most of the time, they make all these demands and they expect so much from the organization. And one of the questions I used to ask the union officials, what is your responsibility in this whole bargain?
Mm.
Because your responsibility is not just to come and mint money from the organization or ask for the rights of the employees. The employer has rights as well. So we also need to understand you are party to this in educating your employees or your members
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
understand they have a responsibility how they behave at the workplace, how
Mm-hmm.
their output, is seen in the organization. You have a
Mm-hmm.
big responsibility. So you are party to this. You cannot remove yourself from it. The
Mm.
other day we were talking with one of our business customers, and one of the question was like, I don't understand why it's always for me. It's always a headache when I engage people. Instead of enjoying engaging people and working with people, it ends up being a headache for me, and I don't
Mm.
understand why this is. And they went to the extent of saying, I don't think the law protects the employer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
why is this? Why are we getting to the place of feeling like this? Why are we feeling defeated while we have all these mechanisms that we can use and make the
Mm-hmm.
organization what we want it to be by setting the right processes, by making sure they are implemented, not just setting them up, but
Mm-hmm.
implementing them and understanding this is the culture of this organization. If you're going to work for this organization, this is what we expect. If you
Mm-hmm.
can't fit in, then sorry, the door is open, you can leave. We are not forcing you to stay. So let's
Mm-hmm.
not feel stuck with people who are not giving us what we expect as employers or what we expect from the HR department. Because at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, we are here to make business and to make money. So if that is not making sense for you, then go back and relook at how you are recruiting your workforce.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how you're bringing people, the caliber of people you're bringing to this organization.
Mm-hmm.
And that would
Mm-hmm.
be my take. And I'm very passionate about this because I believe there are solutions to challenges.
Yeah. Good. Good. Martha, what's your take?
I agree totally
Mm.
101% with ZP.
Yes.
Partnership in an organization is key, and
Mm.
everyone is responsible for managing their own discipline. And
Mm.
so, even if the onus is put on the management, which is important because it
Mm.
all starts or ends from the top.
Mm.
So, you'll find most of our organizations, how the leadership is
Mm-hmm.
very, it's sure that the whole organization will be like that. So,
Exactly.
it starts there, but as
Mm.
Zippy said, it's a personal responsibility for me to be
Mm.
disciplined on to manage my own discipline. And
Mm.
convictions help us make some of the decisions we make.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as I said, of course, it will start at the top. I remember when Zippy talked about the union, I remembered I worked in a bank where the employee of the organization seemed like they are the employees of the union. In fact, I remember asking the union officials, did this staff work for the bank or are they working for you? Because I need that identified. Because even the
Mm-hmm.
union, They are there to bring partnership. It's
Mm-hmm.
not war. It's
Mm-mm.
because when the union is very strong, then the employees are very indisciplined. They are
Yes.
not performing. They are talking with loud voices. Every time you implement something, they are negating. They are talking. There is no day they talk positive. You implement a policy, they are the
Mm,
first to say no. And these are your employees who you're putting these things to help, but they don't have that eye to see the positive side of what the management is doing. They're just
mm,
challenging
mm,
everything that comes. And
mm-hmm.
so at that time we had to sit with that union and agree on a partnership model, because I told them, you
Mm,
either agree on a model or never come to my office, just go and take us to court for what we have not done. Let's go and meet in
mm,
court. And we managed them until they came on board. So it's a
mm,
collective thing for everyone. It's a partnership.
mhm,
But then now when
mhm,
there is a disciplinary case, and that's
mhm,
where the HR only comes in to manage
mhm,
the discipline process as
mhm,
part of a disciplinary committee. So it's not a HR function at all.
mhm,
It's
mhm,
a disciplinary committee function. So for the organization who land everything to the HR, it is not good, because HR always manages the processes. The
mhm,
managers who are in departments are the HR managers for the staff that they are leading. The
Come on,
staff, when
yes.
didn't report, it's not HR who knows they didn't report. It's the
Mhm.
manager who knows that there's
Exactly.
absenteeism. Yeah. When the
Yes.
staff is sick, they don't come to tell HR. They go to the manager. I can't come today
Yes.
because I'm unwell. So
Mhm,
managers need to know they're actually the HR managers of their staff. And if they are in disciplinary issues, they need to
mhm,
manage those. And if they need support from HR, then HR will come in and help that
mhm,
process. So HR is like a helper. It's not the person who is
mhm,
solely responsible for in disciplinary issues. And
mm,
and when there are cases, then HR is able to set up a disciplinary committee that will
mm.
roll out that process as per the legal law and how it is supposed to be done. Thank you very much.
Wow, ladies, you have really dissected it well. That the responsibility of employee managing discipline in an organization is everyone's responsibility. You, as an employee going to work every morning, you know the requirements, you know the rules, then work with them. Work with them, self-manage yourself. And then now management. Now this is where now you're bringing it. Now where the reality from HR perspective, that management, the line managers, the operations managers, whoever is working under you, you as the manager of people under you, a supervisor, you are in effect a HR manager, among other responsibilities. That is why ZP say we here at Aurum Consultants we offer a training called HR for non-HR managers. So that if you are, say, a departmental head, you're wondering, okay, how do I manage this collection of people? Some people are coming here with the dreadlocks wanaingia saa nne saa zile wanataka, or some people decide today they are going to wear like they're in a jacuzzi or something. How do I manage all that? Then you learn how to you managing your team as an expert. I mean, as a departmental head. Then in a sense you're playing that role. So as Martha said, I like the way you've put it. That if it reaches a point where there is a disciplinary, it is not HR disciplining that person. There is a disciplinary committee that HR is part of, that if it's an issue, you find, if depending on the size of the organization, there are several components in that disciplinary committee that comes up with a resolution. So this idea that HR is the one who handles disciplinary issues, I mean, that's a lie. That especially in SMEs, Zippy and I have handled. People are wondering, okay, Zippy, Aurum, why aren't you helping us discipline this person? But you're the one who hired them. They work under you. They work under you. You work with them. You're finding there's a problem. So you're asking us to be part of the committee that makes a decision when you're having disciplinary hearings. I can see a comment. Thank you, Betty Musumba. You've said, indeed, through ZP, discipline is everyone's responsibilities. and limits should be clearly defined at all levels. Now, we are coming to the end of our session today. I really appreciate those who have logged in to listen to us. What's your final comment, Martha? Briefly, what's your final comment?
My final comment on employee discipline issues is that the most important thing is to prevent them. And how we prevent them is have good employee policies, good management, how we manage our staff, some autonomy when they are working, make staff feel part of the organization, like it is their own. And it's up to the organization, up to what they can afford to bring in things that will make staff feel I belong here. So when someone feels they belong, that's why you find them working at 9 at
Correct.
night, and they will not sue you for working late. It's because it is their own thing. They are running it. That person will never be disciplined. That's why I say if we have good policies, we manage people properly, then prevention is better than cure. Thank you.
Or ultimately, thank you, Martha. You are very right. Prevention is better than cure. Zippy, what's your brief as we conclude?
I like how Mother has put this. I don't think I can put it any better. And the only thing I can say, how we manage our employees can make or break an organization. How we set the clear guidelines, how we implement them. The experience we give those employees is very critical for not just the employee, but for us as an organization. Let's work towards giving the best experience we can give. I think nowadays it's not only the employer who is interviewing the employee. The employees now are interviewing the organization to see,
That's
do I really want to work here? I don't
Mm.
think we had ever thought that this would ever happen. But now employees are turning and actually interviewing the employer. So it's important for us to think about the experience we want to give at the end of the day.
Wow, wow. Thank you, ladies. Thank you for this insight that you've received today. That indeed, the employee disciplinary management is not an elephant in the room. No, it is not supposed to be an elephant in the room that we are all trying to scatter around. No, it ought to be at a place where, and I want to emphasize this on my end as I bring this to a close, proper induction where even if it's just 2 3 days where you are told very clearly this is who we are, this is what we do, these are our expectations, this is what we expect of you, this is what you can expect of us, these are the boundaries, and this is what we do. Therefore, you give somebody a clear understanding what they are working for, and if you keep to it, uh, people run with it. I remember the first place I ever worked was a big local bank. And I remember we used to go for a 1 week course in some college, in some staff training center in Karen. And we would 1 week course to be trained on induction. Immediately to employ, quickly you're taken to induction course for 1 week. And you're told what the organization is, what it does, what's expected of you, blah, blah, blah. By the time you're coming out of there, you're feeling like you're walking 10 feet high. I'm working for a major organization. So, okay, not all companies have a staff training center, but once you induct your staff well, after they have interviewed you and you've interviewed them, and you both feel you're a good fit, a proper good induction can give a lot of can remove a lot of misconceptions and and all the other things that come with friction between employers and employees. So thank you very much for your time, Martha and ZP. I can see comments are still coming in. We appreciate them. But we have come to the end of our podcast today. We are looking forward to continuing discussing this matter even next weekend. And if you would want to get in touch with us, you can do so by WhatsApp. There is the WhatsApp number that is written down there, or at the bottom of your screen. We can get in touch through LinkedIn, through Facebook, through YouTube, and even our email address is also scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Next week, we'll continue discussing this matter. We'll continue talking about employee disciplinary management. This is a big deal. Ladies, we can talk this for the next 2 months, every Saturday, but we will restrict ourselves to this month and we'll keep discussing it. So kindly log in next week, same time, same place, and we will discuss more about this topic. Thank you for your time. God bless you.